We are honored to have you share your presence with us.
Swamiji, we are honored, we are blessed for your presence.
It's my joy to be here. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Be seated.
Following our esteemed speaker, I welcome our respected principal, Sudeep Karikayal sir, a visionary leader under his guidance. We are excelling on a daily basis. We welcome you, sir. I welcome our RNS PU College Principal, Professor Ravi Shankar PD sir. Welcome, sir. And I welcome RNS PUC Vice Principal, Professor Gayatri Ma'am and Professor Vijayika Ma'am. Welcome, sir. My heartfelt welcome to the teaching and non-teaching staff of RNS PU and RNS Bursary College and my dear friends. Last but not least, I would like to welcome our admin coordinator, Nagaraja sir. Welcome, you, sir. Let us all embrace this opportunity for learning. Thank you and have a great day. Now I would like to request all the teachers to raise their hand and go ahead.
Sorry?
Absent, there is some issue with the page.
ठीक है, no problem. We'll speak without it.
We have Chaitanya from Beacon to present the profile rating of Sri Chaitanya Caran.
If I stand there, will the projector work from there? You can check that.
Good morning everyone. I'm Chaitanya, studying in final year of economy. I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker Chaitanya Charan, by starting with his own word. Happiness is not a product of gratification. It is a byproduct of dedication. Dedicate ourselves to a meaningful cause and happiness will come our own. Chaitanya Charan is a monk and a spiritual author. Prabhuji has done his electronics and telecommunication engineering from the Government College of Engineering, Pune. Prabhuji is the spiritual teacher for nearly 25 years in Bhakti Yoga tradition to its modern day expression is called. Prabhuji has been an invited speaker at several international conferences on the interface of science and spirituality, including World Peace Conference organized by UNESCO, Intel, Google, Microsoft, Harvard, Stanford, Salesforce, and Cambridge. He is the author of works only Gita Daily Teacher, wherein he writes a 300-word inspirational reflection on a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Till now, Prabhuji has written over 2,000 Gita meditations that are posted in GitaDaily.com. Prabhuji articles have been published in national newspapers, including Indian Express, Economic Times, and Times of India. Author of 25 books that explain the relevance of Vedic wisdom, including Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana. Prabhuji has given 400 talks across 100 cities in 4 continents every year. I hereby end by saying a beautiful quote. It is better to lie in your own destiny imperfectly than to lie in imitation of someone else with a perfection. Once again, I welcome
grandparents actually
Chaitanya
from Andhra only.
Charan.
I have been mostly in Maharashtra.
Now, I will
Now
like to
mostly
call
I'm
upon
traveling
our
around.
Marathi.
Dr. Sudhir
Marathi,
Kekare,
yes.
sir, to welcome the gathering.
I just take 2 minutes.
Yes, please, of course, please. Can we move this stuff ahead? Aside? बाजू को कर दो.
परम पूज्य प्रभुजी on the dais and all my well-wishers of the institutions are there on the dais from ISKCON. My colleagues are here, students, good morning once again to you all. Dear Prabhuji, I just want to give a small introduction about the audience. Almost 1,500 plus are gathered here. Second year and final year degree students, they are in 14th and 15th standard. First year PU students, rest of they are writing the exam. Second year PU students, they are writing the exam. First year PU degree students, they are not accommodated because of lack of space here. About this campus, we have around 6 institutions in the campus and around 11,000 students are there. About these children, academically, they are doing fine. We are happy about their academics. But at times, my observation is they are not prepared well to accept the failure in their life. Ultimately, marks is at the end of the course, it is just a piece of paper. How to live your life? What are the challenges in life they come across? They should know how to accept it. That is what they needed. Culture-wise, comparing to many institutions nearby or all over Bangalore, even I can say all over Karnataka, my students are much more better than any other institution. Culture-wise, I have that high regard on my students. Otherwise, normally, making them to sit like this for a minute also not so easy in other institutions. At this age category in particular. But for For that, I always have salute to my children. They are well disciplined. I only worry is they need to inculcate lot of values, including EQ, emotional quotient. IQ they will make daily, they can enhance it. There are a lot of ways, Google, many other sources are in e-gadgets is available to improve their IQ. But EQ, emotional quotient, or spiritual values, morality, so somewhere it is lacking, especially after COVID. After COVID, that is our observation. I am very sorry to share the sad news of the final year degree student. He passed away just a day back. He did 2 years PUC with us. He was in the 5th semester BCA. Just Thursday he passed away. Today we are
BCom.
BCom. Yeah, BCom C section, 5th semester, BCom C section. I'm sorry, I said some other course probably. I'm sorry for it. BCom C section. Renuka Prasad is there. Very good student in fact. Behavior wise, even academically, the same day he committed suicide, same day he got 7.5 CGPA marks also. He's a distinction student. Where our education system is going, I'm not able to understand properly. He got the marks, he's well-behaved child, but somewhere, certain times, at times, his mind, I think it got to be, and that moment he took some decision like that. I'm very sorry to share this in the public, but still, lot of pain. Life is not only enjoying the comforts, my dear students. Failures, you must accept in the life. It need not be only academic failure. Life will not come as you expect. Your mind, you should prepare always to accept the situation as it comes. That is the reality. You can't change the reality. It happens. You need to accept it. For that, your shock absorber. In every vehicle, we see the shock absorber. In bike, we see, in four-wheelers, we see. The shock, when it passes the hump, it absorbs the shock, and we feel comfort after passing the hump. Because shock absorber, it absorbs that shock, suddenly stop. In life also, you need to strengthen your shock absorber. You need to strengthen it. That's very important. So in that aspect, I observed, especially in ISKCON as well as in Ramakrishna Mission, there are some Swamijis, Prabhujis, they have motivated, they have brought number of people to the mainstream without any expectations. That is their service to the society. That is their service to the society without, we are not paying a single paisa to the Prabhuji today. Without any expectation, all the way, throughout the world, many great platforms, Chaitanya Charan has given the lecture. He has motivated number of software people, number of students, number of youngsters. So such a great person is with us today. Getting this darshan itself, ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನ್ಮ ಸಾರ್ಥಕ. ಅವರ ದರ್ಶನ ಅವರನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಪ್ರತ್ಯಕ್ಷವಾಗಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅವರ ಒಂದು ದರ್ಶನ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಪುಣ್ಯವಂತರು. ಇನ್ನು ಅವ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದು ನನ್ನ ಜನ್ಮದ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯ. ಅದು ಬೇರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅವರನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಅಕೇಷನ್ ಟು ಆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಸ್. ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ, This is about my students. I kindly request, really we are honored and blessed to have you today in our campus. I kindly request you to motivate our children through your wonderful, valuable words so that in a month or 2 months they are all having exams also. But exams, I said, it is just a part of our life. That is not everything. Still, I want them to grow academically, plus they should learn to accept the failure in the life. So I request kindly to address our gathering and hold to you something. Thank you so much.
Let us begin by chanting the Ekakshari Om. So what we will do is take a deep breath and then we will chant Om, and when we chant Om, draw out the Om as long as you can and let all the negativity, lethargy, distraction from within go out with the exhalation. So wherever you are, you can be seated comfortably, take one deep breath and then you can chant with me Om. Together, once more, one deep breath and then a long drawn out Om. Visualize all the negativity, anxiety, uncertainty, all of it going out with the exhalation of air while you are saying Om. One deep breath and then once again. One last time, one deep breath and one long Om. Close your eyes and try to visualize all the darkness, negativity, anxiety going out from within you. One deep breath. Thank you. So I'll be using this tablet as a whiteboard to write and draw certain things. And our topic is, I'm going to speak on how to find an inner oasis. It's heartbreaking to hear about the departure of one of our co-students here. I'll speak broadly on the topic of why do we do what we do? Why do sometimes we all feel impelled to do something that afterwards wonder, why did I do that? Now, broadly in the world, there are two kinds of people. Am I audible to everyone? Okay. So, there are some people who are wise and there are some are otherwise. So, wise, and it's not just that there is two kind of people. Sometimes we ourselves oscillate. Sometimes we are wise and sometimes we are otherwise. So in fact, my own spiritual journey began when I experienced this kind of oscillation inside me. When I was in my third year engineering, I was doing an experiment in the lab and suddenly I heard a voice from behind me. Hey, there's wildlife on your body. And even before I could really assimilate what was going on, the first word that came out of my mouth, don't hurt it. And then I looked around and saw on my shirt there was a small insect. And my friend who had said those words, there's wildlife, he had raised his hand to squash that insect. And he stopped and I said, don't hurt it. And then I gently moved to the nearby window, put my finger on my shirt, and the insect crawled on my finger, and then I let it out of the window. And my friend was, I looked back at my friend, I remembered him looking at me with big, bemused eyes. Now, that evening, that same evening, in fact, we were taking dinner together, and he told me something that enraged me. We had done a project together a few months ago, and at that time, some mistake had happened. And he had let everyone believe that I had committed the mistake. But now he told me that it is actually he had committed the mistake and he had let me take the fall. I was so enraged. I just jumped up, raised my fist. I said, I will kill you. And as I spoke that, his eyes suddenly opened wide again. And when his eyes opened wide, it was almost as if I froze. Sometimes kids play statue, is freeze. So I froze because those big wide eyes reminded me of the time earlier in the day. Earlier in the day, as I was watching him, I started thinking, wait a minute. It's almost like I had an out of body experience. I am here and I felt as if I was observing myself from above. And I started thinking, wait a minute, who is the real person? Just a few hours ago, this person was not ready to hurt an insect. And now this same person is about to smash the face of his friend. So, who is the real person? Are there two persons inside this person? Are there multiple people? What is actually going on? So, if I look backward, it is in one sense the same person. And you could say this person was wise, this person was gentle. And this person that I was observing was the opposite, was otherwise, was short-tempered, was almost violent. So that's what got me into a journey of trying to understand my inner world. I was always an avid reader, but I used to read some adventure fiction, some general knowledge books. But then from that time I started reading books on psychology, philosophy, spirituality, to try to understand the inner world. And it was during this exploration, intellectual exploration, that I came across the Bhagavad Gita. And of course, I knew the Bhagavad Gita from my childhood. I had memorized some verses, participated in some shloka recitation competitions. But here, I look at the Bhagavad Gita as a book of wisdom, not just a book of religious piety. And I found there a model of the self. What happens inside us? I found a model that had both this model of the self that I found in the Bhagavad Gita. I found it had both explanatory power and predictive power. That means it helped me understand why I acted the way I did, why others acted the way they did. Of course, not completely, everybody is that way a mystery, but a much better understanding I got. And then also I could anticipate, okay, this is what happened in this situation, and I got that predictive power also it was. So, in fact, I was so inspired by that understanding that I started not only studying it but sharing it with my friends in college. And I could see that their lives were getting positively transformed by that. That's when, after I completed my engineering, I worked in a multinational software company. I decided that I could contribute much more to society by sharing the wisdom of the Gita than by, say, writing software programs. So I will talk today, I'll explain this model, but I'll also explain this model not just conceptually, but also in terms of a story, a narrative. And then we will talk about 3 factors that can make us take bad decisions. So, like I was about to hit my friend. So, we all sometimes hurt others, sometimes we hurt ourselves. So, these 3 triggers we'll try to understand, and then we'll look at 3 ways in which we can protect ourselves. So, that will be the overall talk. So, first I'll talk about the model, then I'll talk about 3 triggers, and then I'll talk about 3 defenses, 3 sources of protection and empowerment for us. So, what exactly is the model of the self? The Gita explains that our existence is 3 level. There is our physical side, our body, then there is our mind, and then there is our Atma, the soul. Now, this 3 level can be compared to a computer system in which there is the hardware, the software, and there is the user. So, the body is like the hardware, the mind is the software, and the soul is the user. Now, in today's world, like Paisar was explaining, that the IQ is improving and we are advancing in technology. So it's like the hardware is improving phenomenally. We have air conditioning, which is something unavailable even for royalty 50 years ago. It was unimaginable even for royalty 100 or 200 years ago. So hardware, in terms of physical comforts, we have improved dramatically. But it seems the software is deteriorating. And that is why we are having problems like, there are 3 main problems. People are more and more sad. Does anyone know what is sad? If you have never known what is sad, then you are very fortunate. But sad refers to 3 major mental health problems that people have: stress, anxiety. Can you guess the third one? Depression. Yes. We are quite enthusiastic to talk about depression. Okay. Now, these we could say are 3 viruses that are corrupting our mind. And because of this, we end up hurting ourselves and, of course, hurting others. The phenomena that we have today, there was American thinker Martin Luther King. He said that we have guided missiles and misguided men. We have guided missiles, our technology has improved, but it seems that internally things have become worse. So, this model of the self, what it says is that we need to take care of the complete being, the body, the mind, and the soul. The body, and how to take care of the body, we learn through our education, through our employment, through our society. We also need to learn to take care of our mind, and beyond that, our spiritual side. Now, why does the mind work against us? The mind is basically like a program device. And because it's a program device, it has its own programming by which it functions. So, what that means is, let's say, suppose you have your phone. Have any of you heard of this thing? Is it? I go to South America, there also people know about Bollywood. So of course you have sandalwood and other things over here. But suppose, say somebody has visited on their device a website called Bollywood.com. Now, if they have visited 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, Then what happens is, after that, anytime they type B, what will happen? Bollywood.com will come automatically as an autocomplete. That's because that's stored in their history. In their browsing history, that's stored. So B leads to an autocomplete. So you could say our mind also has its own history stored. And this, what is stored in our mind, is called as impressions. So another word for these impressions is propensities. I'll use the word P here. I'll talk about 3 P's that make us behave in a way that we regret, that make us act in an unhealthy way. So our mind has impressions inside it. These lead to our propensities. So I'll start with the not audible. Okay, no problem. So I'll continue without it. So I'll talk about a story from the Ramayana that many of you are aware of. But I'll try to present this story from the perspective of why do good people do bad things? What impels them to do these things? So this is a story of Kaikai. Now, Kaikai was the favorite queen of the king of Ayodhya. Does anyone know who was the king? Dashrath. Yes, thank you. So now, Dashrath was getting on in age and he decided to hand over the kingdom. Who was his eldest son? Ram. So Lord Ramchandra. So he decided to appoint him as the prince regent and then after that the king. Now Kaikai loved Ram and Ram also loved Kaikai, respected her just like he respected his own mother. Who was his mother? Anyone knows? Kaushalya, yes. We have Kaushalya Supraja. So it's come. So what happened was, when Ram was to be coronated, the whole of Ayodhya was in celebration. And at that time, one person came and told Kaikai. Who was that person? Manthara. So, the Ramayana is historical, but it is also teaching us universal themes. It describes incidents that happened long ago, but it also describes typical patterns of behavior. So, Manthara represents the mind, and Kaikai represents the soul. It can be said to represent. They are historical people. So what we are trying to understand today is how the mind can make the soul, the person, do something which they would normally not do at all. So what happened? When Kaikai first heard that from Manthara, Ram is being coronated, she was so happy. She took out a jewel necklace and gave. And she said, "This is the best news you have ever brought to me. Here is your reward." And Manthara said, "You foolish woman, don't you understand what is happening?" He says, "What is happening?" He says, "It's a happy news." He says, "No, all this is a conspiracy to sideline you and your son, and thereby to have Kaushalya's son enthroned." So what happened over here was Manthara started exploiting. There's this propensity, there were co-wives, and any situation if there are people who are peers. Whenever, do you know the word peers? What does peers mean? People who are equals to us, the same student, same level students, say peers. So whenever there are peers, there are fears. So what happens is, We are afraid that our peers may do better than us. It's like, I want you to get good marks in exam, but not more than me. There is always that fear. So, there was this propensity. The propensity was fear. Fear that there might be rivalry between them and that rivalry could lead to problems. And Manthara exploited that. So basically, three things happen. I said I'll talk about three triggers and we'll talk about how it applies in our life also. But we all have certain propensities in us. So we may dislike someone, we may ourselves have some low self-esteem, we may have anger issues. These are propensities that are there. They are there inside our mind. So when I talk about the mind over here there are these impressions. These propensities are there inside us. So what happens is that we have the mind with propensities inside. And then the nature of life is life is like a sine wave, ups and downs. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gum. So there are times when there will be provocation. Provocation means something will go wrong. Something will agitate us, something will disturb us. That's just the nature of the world. Life is tough. The Gita says this world is dukkhalaya. That means there will always be something which will make us unhappy. And there's something which will make us extremely unhappy. There will be provocation in life. Now, there's a propensity inside and there's a provocation outside. So for Kaikai, it was not just these two things. The provocation was that her son was not being enthroned. It was her co-wife's son that was being enthroned. Now she was initially not provoked by it. But along with that, there was a provoker. So when these three things come together, it's a deadly storm. There is a propensity inside, there is a provocation outside, and there is a provoker. So when Manthara provoked her, says, this is all a conspiracy to sideline you, to destroy you. She says, no, how destroy? She says that once Ram becomes the king, Kaushalya will become the royal mother. And you will be a nobody. And then Ram will see Bharat as a threat. And he wanting to destroy the threat, he may even kill Bharat. It's actually completely ridiculous. Nothing like that would happen. But that's what the story that she told. And the result of this, when they started the conversation, Kaikai was in one mood. The commentators of the Ramayana describe that Kaikai was wise, gentle and kind. Wise means in terms of intelligence, gentle in terms of her speech, kind in terms of behavior. But by the combination of these three things, P, there was a propensity, provocation, provoker. What happened was, she became foolish, she became cruel, she became harsh. Harsh in her words, cruel in her actions. Complete change. That's why when Dashrath saw her and she heard her speak, that I want Ram to be sent to a forest for 14 years, I want Bharat to be king. He couldn't believe his ears. He couldn't believe that his wife could speak something like this. Is this a different person? Who is she? She was so soft and gentle. She became so cold-hearted. What happened? So this is what happens. The corruption inside the mind. Now, let's consider how this might apply to us. I saw some of this happening when I was an engineering student 30 years ago. I would say now the situations are even more challenging. So let's look at a propensity. Now we all have a propensity to explore. Hmm? Explore something which is, say, forbidden. Maybe when we grow up, our parents tell us, no, don't get into bad habits, don't smoke, maybe don't get into drugs, don't drink, whatever. There is something which we have that adventures to explore. And say we are studying, and there's a lot of stress, there's a difficult exam, maybe we didn't do well in the exam, and we feel, I'm feeling down, there's a provocation. The provocation is that we are feeling down. And then, if at that time in our life there is a provoker, the provoker is somebody who says that, maybe you take these drugs, you'll feel good. Now, at that time, the person is vulnerable. Now, most people are intelligent enough to say no. But those who say yes, they're not bad people. They're caught at a bad time. So, some unhealthy behavior. Somebody provokes us to do that. Come on, do this. Come on, do that. Sometimes it might not be anything like a drug. It could be just gossiping. Now, we understand that when we hear rumors, we should not spread rumors about others. Now, if somebody spread some rumors about us, we wouldn't want to, we would feel bad. Why did you do that? Right? But what happens is, say, gossip. All of you know what is gossip, isn't it? When does gossip happen? Basically, there are two things. When we hear something we like, when we hear something we like about someone we don't like. When we hear something we like about someone we don't like, then what happens? Hey, this person pretends to be so good. Now I know something. And then, in public interest, I'll broadcast it to everyone. And nowadays, with social media, in the past, we could have spoken it to a few people around us. Nowadays, with social media, we can spread rumors, and so sometimes one thing is spoken, it can spread all over the world within minutes. So now we may not be a bad person, but what happens is we just want some cheap thrill. Maybe we are feeling down, and there are some people who love to gossip. They like to provoke. Sometimes what they do is they tell this person, he said this about you, and she said that about you, and they like to create conflicts. So in life there will always be provokers. We can't avoid them. There are two kinds of people in the world. Some people bring happiness wherever they go. And some people bring happiness whenever they go. So, wherever they go, they bring happiness. And some people, they are so arrogant, they are so short-tempered, they are so harsh. And they go away. We feel relief. But the thing is that there will be provokers in our life. So for us, this combination, so I talked about the mind is there inside us, that is psychological. Then there are people around us who are provokers, that is social. And then life has ups and downs, that is situational. So the Gita explains that through all these three, we get three kinds of klesha. Klesha is distress. From our own body, we get what is called as Adi Atmik. From our body mind. Our mind feels, sometimes we experience that nothing seems to have happened, but still we feel bored, still we feel lazy, still we feel down. So that's our mind creating trouble for us. That's Adhyatmik. Then situations are such that sometimes things go wrong. That is Adhidaivik. Now, that is situationally things go wrong. and then there are people around us. That is Adi Bhautik. So now any one of these problems is bad enough. But if all three go wrong, that can be devastating. And that is what happened, unfortunately, to Kaikai. She had that propensity, she had that insecurity. Oh, what is Kaushalya doing? And then there's Manthara who provoked her. And situationally it happened that Dashrath had full plan to inform her. In fact, he came to inform her before he even went to Kaushalya. Although it was Kaushalya's son getting enthroned, he was so happy. He wanted to share his happiness with Kaikeyi. He had no intention of sidelining her or not informing her. But it just happened that he did not inform her before. He announced the news. He said, why is this? This is all a conspiracy. So basically, for us, we have our mind. We can't rid the world of people who are going to provoke us. We can't remove from the world situations that are going to provoke us. That is going to happen. But we all will face setbacks in life. We all will sometimes have failures. So, setback is unavoidable. But what we need to do is, from setback, we should have a comeback. So, from setback to comeback. But what happens is, instead of a setback, is like a boxing match. A setback is like a knock. Somebody is knocked down. But knocked down doesn't have to become a knockout. From knocked down, you can bounce back, you can come back. So that is what we will try to do. We all will face, we have propensity, we have weaknesses within us. We all will have provokers and we will have provocative situations. So let's see how we can deal with this. Our mind can create unnecessary problems for us also. One of my friends is a doctor. He is in Yale Medical College. So his top colleges in America. His college and university, hospital are close by. So he told me one incident. One woman, she came, she was in great panic. He says, what happened? She says, doctor, there is a frog in my stomach. His first reaction was, obviously there can't be a frog in your stomach. He said, no, there's a frog in my stomach. He said, okay, tell me what happened. And she said, I have gone to a dozen doctors till now. And not one of them is ready to believe that there's a frog in my stomach. So the doctor said, okay. He realized that, this is a psychological problem. I have to deal with it. Just telling her that no frog is not going to help. He said, okay, let me do some examination. Then he did some mock examination. And then he told her, you're right. Actually, there's a frog in your stomach. Thank God, doctor. Nobody was ready to believe me. He says, what should we do? What should you do? What do you want to do about it? He says, we can do a surgery to remove it. Okay, please. When do you want to do it? Right away. He says, okay. So they decided, just give her some local anesthesia. And he just did some small surgical cuts on her belly. And while she was she was unconscious, he told the attendant to go to a nearby lake and brought a small frog from there. And when she came back to consciousness, he told her, see, this was the frog we found in your belly. Oh, doctor, I feel so free. I feel so relieved. You saved my life. And then she went back. And everybody thought it was a good solution, clever solution to the problem. But then after a week, she came back. And she looked in even more anxiety. She says, doctor. She says, what happened? The frog had babies. So the frog had babies. So the point I'm making over here is something important. That when there is a propensity, the propensity will lead to the problem again and again. That is, the propensity has to be dealt with. So, for example, if somebody has a propensity that they get angry, now you can tell them to calm down, take some deep breaths, and all that is good. But there has to be a change inside. So we'll talk about how to do that. So I talk about 3 triggers. You can look at your own life. When you have done something which you regret, maybe you have to apologize for that. You will see there is some inner weakness and there is some outer situation. And if there is some person who is triggering us, then it's even worse. So we'll talk about, when you talk about emotional quotient or emotional intelligence, the key principle here is that we need 3 things. Essentially means that there are reversible emotions. There are reversible emotions, but sometimes with reversible emotions, we take irreversible decisions. And this is what we want to stop. We all have, sometimes we feel down, reversible emotion. But I'm feeling down today, tomorrow I'll be better. So Kaikai had that suspicion. Yes, she felt maybe is Dasharatha against me, is Kaushalya against me? That emotion is there. But in that process, she took an irreversible decision. She had Ram exiled and Dasharatha died because of heartbreak. So our mind is fickle, there will be emotions within it. What we want to do is ensure that reversible emotions don't lead to irreversible decisions. Our mind is such that based on its propensities, see when I say propensity of the mind, what it means is basically 2 things. There are likes and dislikes. And sometimes the same thing. Now one day, say we are in college and we do well in one exam, or maybe some teacher appreciates us. We say, oh, this college is so wonderful. I'm so happy here. And the next day we do a little poorly in the exam. Maybe some professor gives us some feedback. This college is terrible. Why did I even come here? I should have gone to some other college. Like, nowadays, it's like even about jobs. I love this job. I hate this job. It can even be about relationships. Now, one day, 2 people say, no, I can't live without you. And next day, say, I can't live with you. So, these emotions are reversible. And we have to make sure that reversible emotions don't lead to irreversible decisions. So let's talk about how we can prevent that. Let's look at Kaikai's example, and then we'll see what it means for us. Now Kaikai, she made 3 mistakes. First was, she just heard Manthara uncritically. Whatever Manthara was saying, she just believed it. That is the first mistake. But you can say, okay, she didn't know Manthara was a bad person. And so, okay, she heard that's okay. But the second mistake was an even bigger mistake. She didn't consult anyone else. Now, she could have sought a clarification. Dashrath was very close to her. She could have asked, what is going on over here? Why the haste in making this decision? Why is this decision being done when Bharat is not here? She could have sought a clarification. Or if she felt that Dashrath is also a part of the conspiracy against me, she could have gone and asked Vashishta. Vashishta was the royal sage. Now, and he didn't have any partiality over there. Whether Bharat became the king or Ram became the king, Vashishta would still be the royal priest. So he would have been impartial. Could have consulted someone else. She didn't do that also. And the third mistake was, she she took an absolute decision and refused to reason. So when Dashrath said, okay, you want Bharat to be the king, that's okay. But please don't send Ram away. What has Ram ever done to hurt you? No. So, these three things, each of these are pointers for us of what we can do. So, first was heard mantra. Second was didn't consult anyone else. And the third was took an absolute decision. No, she didn't listen to reason from anyone's side. So for all of us, this also happens. See, our mind is inside us and it is constantly speaking. It's constantly speaking. So right now you are hearing this talk. Some of your mind may say, it's a long talk, when is it going to end? I'm getting bored now. Some of your mind may say, okay, I'm sitting on the floor, I'm uncomfortable. Our mind is constantly giving some background noise. It is always there. But when we just start listening to it, and the mind is such a thing that it can make a small problem very big. And sometimes a small problem, we just make it so huge that we end up doing something terrible. So here, I travel across the world. So I see how the mind can escalate problems. There's one friend of mine. He and his wife, both of them are attorneys. They're into family law. So family law is basically a polite word for divorce. Divorce jurisdiction. So he told me that sometimes, this is in Canada, sometimes people come and they make small problems so big. So he said one time, this devotee friend, his wife was telling me that one time one Canadian woman came and she said, I want a divorce. He says, why? He said that, what's the reason? He said that, I and my husband, we can't agree what should be the AC temperature for our home. Now, is that a reason to divorce? There are so many people who don't even have AC in their homes. So she said that, you really want to separate because of that? He said, yes. He said, I believed he was my dream partner. And if he was my dream partner, our body temperature should be synced with each other. If they are not, we're going to separate. Now, it may seem ridiculous to us, but for that person, it's a tragic, it's comic, but it's tragic. And she actually insisted, I want to separate. Sometimes some people, just small things. I give meditation and spirituality talks across the world. So I was in Connecticut at a mental health conference. One young girl came and met me after one of my talks. She said that she had heard my talks before. And she said that how she spiraled into depression. And then she said she was studying in a college. When she was studying in a college, she was also, to earn some money by the side, she used to wait tables. It's quite common in the West that people do jobs along with their studies. So once she was carrying a glass of water for a customer. And suddenly the glass slipped from her hand. It fell down, her clothes became wet, the whole thing became a mess. Now, it's embarrassing. But she said, when that happened, the first thought that came in my mind is that if I can't carry a glass of water, how am I going to carry myself throughout my life? Now, what is the connection between the two of these? So many of us, we may have spilled water. What's the big deal? But the mind can make a small thing very big. So we all have these propensities. And for each one of us, our mind may make one small thing very big. So what do we need to do for this? So what could Kaikai have done? The first is awareness. Awareness means We need to observe ourselves and be aware when our mind tends to make small things big. So if she, okay, this mantra is saying this, is this really true? Our mind is saying, this is a terrible thing. Okay, is it really that terrible? Is it really that terrible? This kind of awareness is what is developed by studying books like the Bhagavad Gita. What happens by this is we start understanding our mind, we start understanding ourselves. It's like I type B and it's going to Bollywood. But I didn't really want to go to Bollywood. Okay, I just went over there. It happens. So we become aware. Now, awareness alone is not enough. Along with that, we need association. By association, I mean satsanga. See, this is basically if we do swadhyay. Swadhyay is spiritual study, study of books like the Bhagavad Gita. We will start understanding ourselves better. See, every day when we come out of our homes, we may look at a mirror to see how I look. And it's helpful to know how we look. But we need a mirror to look at our inner self. And books like the Bhagavad Gita are that mirror. Now, along with that, we also need good association. So we need good friends. As I said, if Kaikai had just talked with somebody, instead of just hearing mantra, okay, she heard mantra, she could have talked with Dashrath, she could have talked with Vashishta, she could talk with somebody. So what had happened to her was, because she was the favorite queen, she had built a cocoon around herself. I am special. And she did not have very close relationship with anyone. And this is very important for all of us, that we need close friends. We need good friends. And we all can actually make out. See, if I am here and this friend is here. Now we will have some friends who will raise us up. Maybe they are disciplined, they are kind, they are polite. And by their association, we go up. We have our friendship with them. They are going up and they take us up. And there are other friends, they are going down and they drag us down. So we will have both kinds of people around us. What is important for us is to have good friends. Friends with whom we can talk about. In general, mental health problems increase to the extent people are lonely. So nowadays, we have so much, we have study pressure, work pressure, and so many things are there. That's true. But that does not mean we are just functioning robots. We are human beings. We need friends. And especially if you have any spiritually minded friends, some of you students, you performed this beautiful Krishna Kirtan, and I came in all of you, many of you had dressed so attractively, so aesthetically to welcome with traditional attire and traditional symbolism. So if you have like-minded friends like this, who are also a little spiritually interested, then that association will lift you up. As one of our services to society is to try to create spiritual groups in the student communities. That like a spiritual oasis. Not everybody will be equally interested, but people know, okay, this is a place where there's a spiritual club. So now yoga clubs, bhakti yoga clubs, spirituality clubs are becoming common. I was just in America, I was in Salesforce, which is one of the biggest companies. And Salesforce, they have a floor for meditation and mindfulness. And there is a meditation club over there. Why? Because everybody needs good association. So when our mind starts telling us, do this person like this, the world is terrible, I am good for nothing, we need good association. So, okay, my mind is saying like this. I say, actually, it's not such a big thing. Yeah, it happened, it's a bad thing, but if we have somebody with whom we can talk, they can clarify. So making good friends is one of the most important decisions that you can make in your life. So association. And then I come to the last part. As I said, the third thing she did was, she just made an absolute decision. This is it, and that's all there is to it. So we all will have sometimes our dark moods. Sometimes we just feel like doing nothing. Sometimes we feel like doing something terrible. So at that time, what we need is something that will give us absorption. Absorption, I mean positive or uplifting absorption. See, we all know many things that we could do which are good for us, but we may not feel like doing those things. So, absorption comes at the intersection of two things. See, there are things that are good for us, and then there are things that feel good to us. There are things that are good, and there are things that feel good. So, for example, if we consider food, there is food that is healthy, and then there is food that is tasty. Now, quite often, a tasty food is not always healthy. These two are separate circles, but they are not entirely separate circles. What we have is, we have some intersection between these two circles. Something that is good and something that also feels good to us. If we can find that thing, that is where we can have positive absorption. Say you like music. There are all kinds of music. But say you have some spiritual inclination, you like bhakti also. Maybe when you go to a temple, yeah, in that premises you have such a beautiful temple. It's a serene place. You like to visit temple sometimes, you feel peaceful over there. So there is music and then there is bhakti. You know, bhakti is good for you, it keeps you calm. Music is something which feels good. So the intersection of these two, something that feels good and something that is good. So the intersection could be bhakti music. So when we are going down a dark track, we need something that will keep us calm, that will help us feel good, but which will also be good for us. So this is where in the past there were rituals. Nowadays the word ritual has a lot of negative connotation to it. Oh, why don't do blind rituals? Yeah, rituals, if they're done ritualistically, they're not very good. But rituals, what they do is, they tap the power of repetition. They tap the power of repetition in changing our mind. What they do is, when we do something repeatedly. You remember I started with this Bollywood, that being there in our browser. Somebody's browser. So suppose somebody comes for a talk like this. And they come and hear the talk about Bhagavad Gita. They think, oh, this sounds interesting. And they open their phone and they want to go to bhagavadgita.com. So they type B. And what happens? Bollywood comes. They didn't want to go to bollywood.com. But that came as autocomplete. Now what do you do at such a time? Just have to type. Type the full 12 words. Now typing 12, not 12 words, 12 letters. Typing 12 letters nowadays can feel like lifting a 120 kg weight. But just do it. If you do it, what will happen is, each time you visit bhagavadgita.com, that is also getting stored in your history. And it's stored in your history. After some time when you type B, then both will come and you can choose. If you keep visiting bhagavadgita.com, after some time when you type B, automatically bhagavadgita.com will come by the first autocomplete. So like that, if we develop some healthy rituals. So for example, many of you may have learned in your childhood, you've been reciting some Vishnu Sahasranam or Venkateswara Prabhatam, or some prayers. In our tradition, we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. So these are rituals, but what these rituals do is they reprogram our mind. They create healthier impressions within us. And with these healthier impressions, what happens is whenever you feel down, oh, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling hurt. At that time, instead of doing something destructive, from within, oh, let's hear some music, let's chant some prayers, let's do some meditation, let's go for a walk, let's do something which is calming. So these rituals can reprogram our mind. So find out some healthy habit that you can absorb yourself in and develop that habit. The new year is coming, we all make some new year resolutions. So try to find out one thing, just one thing that falls for you in the intersection of what is good and what feels good. And make a resolution to do that. Just start that, you will find that it can make a huge difference in your life. Many of us, right now, when we are functioning, we are actually functioning like I am here and inside me, my mind is here. And what's happening is we are trying to go in one direction and our mind is pushing us in another direction. So basically, we are just functioning maybe at 20-30% efficiency because there's so much opposition inside us. But if we change our mind, then what will happen is we are going in this direction, our mind will also start going in the same direction. And we'll find that we'll be able to do much more. Whatever time we have, we will be able to do much more in that time. And that way, we all can be positively transformed. So, this is how, instead of being otherwise, we can be wise. So, I'll summarize what I discussed today. I started by talking about how our behavior, from my own experience, I talked about how we can be unstable. One day we are wise, another day we are otherwise. So why is this? I talk about the model of the self, that the Gita says that inside us we are there, but next to us our mind is there. The mind, body and soul. This is like the hardware, software and user. So we are improving the hardware, but our software is going down. So I talk about how our software can take us down through 3 triggers. Does anyone remember the 3 triggers? First is, I talk about the story of Kaikai and Manthara. So what does Kaikai represent? Anyone remembers? Soul, yes. And Manthara? Mind, yes. So how the mind can mislead the soul, I talk in terms of 3 P's. What are the 3 P's? Propensity, yes. That we all have certain propensities. So Kaikai had some insecurity. And then what happened? Provocation. So in life, there will always be things which go up and down. And sometimes we'll face bad situations. And the worst is when there is also a third provoker. So if all 3 come together, it can be a recipe for disaster. And then, to protect ourselves from these 3, I talked about solutions. So for propensity, what do we do? Awareness. That okay, I have, in these situations, I tend to overreact. I make small things big out. This is what my mind's tendency is. So awareness comes through Swadhyay. And then, if you want to avoid provocation, what do? Association. It's a association. We try to have satsanga. We try to have good association. And then, we will have provocations in life. But when the provocations come, to protect ourselves, we need some absorption. And that absorption can come through sadhana. Sadhana is where we do some rituals. We find something which is good for us and which feels good for us. So, in this way, we all can ensure that we become tougher internally. That life may knock us down, but we will rise back. We may have a setback, but from setback we will have a comeback. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. What is the story from my life that represents the essence of who I am? Who I am, for all of us, it's a journey of discovery. But I can talk about two incidents. When I was studying in my engineering, I was also a part of a social welfare organization. And I used to go to a nearby slum. I always had a lot of faith in the power of education. Education can open doors and create a better life. So I used to go to the slums and I used to offer, as a part of that welfare organization, free tuition classes to the kids in the slums. But then I came to know that as the kids became friends, I came to know that they had uh, they had very dysfunctional homes. There's alcoholism among them, especially the fathers, domestic violence sometimes. Very painful to hear about it all. And I started thinking, how much can, by teaching about history or math or English, am I really helping them? So I talked with the leaders of our organization and decided that we will also try to help in de-addiction. Got some experts to come and talk, and we also learned some principles. And after a few months of activism, it's not a very big slum, but the whole slum, everybody agreed that we will go dry, we'll stop taking alcohol. And that was a time when we all felt it was a great sense of fulfillment. But then our semester ended, I went back to my hometown, I was staying in a hostel. When I came back after semester break, I found to my dismay that not only the parents, but even the kids had started drinking. What had happened was, in between there was the local municipality elections. And one of the candidates, in order to woo the voters, had brought truckloads of free liquor for everyone. So that's when it struck me that we may be opening doors for people towards a better life. But there are trap doors inside us. And those trap doors, we fall and we sink. So opening doors externally is important, but closing the trap doors internally is also important. So I find that spirituality helps us to close those trap doors inside us. Science can make things better. Spirituality can make people better. So that is what is my small service to society. How do we how do we heal from tragic incidents? Yes. Yes, how do we heal from mental illness or tragic incidents? When I said that this body, mind, and soul are three distinct levels, that means the mind is a reality of its own. So some people, when somebody is mentally distressed or hurt or wounded, just be strong. Well, that's not a very helpful thing. It's like suppose somebody's got a fracture, and now if say they got a fracture, they can't really lift weights. And you tell them, be strong, lift weights. That's not going to work. See, if somebody has got a physical injury, say if there's a fracture, there are two steps in healing from fracture. First is stop motion. Generally, people get a sling or something, you stop the motion. And then let the body heal itself. But after that, you have to do exactly the opposite. Resume motion. Isn't it? The same doctor who said, don't move your hand at all. After 15 days, said, start moving. He says, doctor, make up your mind. Should I move or should I not move? He says, no, that time you should not move. Now you should start moving. So similarly, the same thing. What applies to say physical fracture also applies to say a mental rupture. When there is a wound, first step is that we need, whenever there is injury, we need to avoid provocation. So, if somebody has, say somebody has been traumatized by seeing some accident. I was in New Zealand and there one Kiwi lady, she came to meet me after one of my spiritual seminars. She said that, she's just too traumatized to drive. Now in the West, driving is as essential as walking. This public transport is not so easy. She said what happened was, she was going on a first drive and she was trial drive, she was learning license. And at that time, somebody who was mentally unstable, that person just jumped in front of her on the road. That person wanted to commit suicide. And she just slammed on her brakes. But he just came right in the middle. Her car hit that person. He was rushed to the hospital, but he died. And she said, now, as soon as I sit in a car, she says, I just started all that person's head knocking against my car, the person flying away, all that starts replaying in my mind. And then just can't. I just can't. I can't. I said, so you never drive by car? He says, I drive by a car, but I don't drive a car. I said, that means you can sit behind, you can sit next, you can't sit in the driver's seat. Yeah. So, these two stages, first is avoid provocation. That's what the Bhagavad Gita calls as vairagya. Whatever agitates us, keep a distance from it. That is essential. But that alone is not enough. That's like, first put your hand in a sling. It's required. But you can't keep the hand in the sling for the rest of your life. Like that, we can't keep avoiding provocations perpetually. And what is the next step? There is gradual, safe exposure. That means that, okay, can you get in the driver's seat? You may not be able to drive. Say, can you sit over there? Okay, I can sit, but don't close the door. Okay. You sit one day, the next day what happens? Nothing happened. You sit in the door. Can you close the door? Okay, but don't start the engine. Okay. But gradually, like a person is recovering, okay, move the hand a little bit. Move the hand a little bit. Now, can you lift this box? Okay. And after some time, that person starts lifting weights also. So basically, what do you mean by mental injury? That the mind has basically associated a stimulus with a reality or with a situation. So in her case, she had associated sitting in a car with injuring someone. So the stimulus is associated with the situation. What we need to do is, we need to break this link. So initially when it's raw, avoid the stimulus. But afterward, we go in the stimulus gradually, but we experience for ourselves that this stimulus doesn't lead to that situation. So that's why abhyas. Abhyasa means go into that situation again, gradually, gently. Don't force yourself, but go in gradually. And when we see that after some time that, okay, I get in that situation, I get that stimulus, but that situation does not recur. Then the link with the mind will be broken. That's the how the mind will be reprogrammed.
This is an interesting question. Maybe we all are longing for the answer. Why do we dream?
Why do we dream? Because waking life doesn't allow us to fulfill our dreams. Well, that's one reason. But basically, we have our mind. Normally, the mind is tied to the body. Say, right now, you are looking at me, I am looking at you. Our minds could be going anywhere else. But we are in a particular place, and the mind is generally tied to that place. Sometimes you get absent minded. But the mind has a lot of impressions within it which are not connected with the body. And when we sleep, basically the mind becomes temporarily disconnected from the limitation of the body. And that's how the mind starts fantasizing various things. It can go anywhere, it can dream anything. So that's from a psychological or functional perspective. From a spiritual perspective, dreams actually remind us that there is more to us than our body. That means that, see, we normally we identify with our body. You know, we think I'm tall, I'm short. We think I am my body. But if we sleep and we dream, maybe we see a tiger chasing us and we are scared and we are running away from it. So our body is lying comfortably on the bed. But our body is not experiencing anything, there's no danger. But yet we are experiencing danger. That means that the experiencer is different from the body. So, dreams are God's arrangement to remind us that there is more to us than our body. There is more to us than our biology. That the experiencer of life is different from the body through which we experience life. So, we are not our body, we live through our body. So, that reality we can assess if we think about our dreams. Okay?
Thank you, sir, for being patient and answering all the questions. I have an announcement from founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhagavad Swami Nipoda. There is a program from youth today evening at ISKCON Temple South, Bengaluru by Prabhuji at 6 p.m. And tomorrow evening 5:30 onwards, New Year program, Food Fest and Kirtan. All show in RNS at Manhattan Banquet Hall, PNL, 5th stage. There will be weekly Bhagavad Gita classes happening. Finally, let's express our gratitude to everyone who made this event possible. As we know, gratefulness is gracefulness. I now welcome Sanjay, final year BCA, to deliver the vote of thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Sanjay, of final year BCA, stand here today as a proud and grateful student to express my heartfelt thanks to all those who have made this event possible. As you all know, that saying thank you is a respectful way to show appreciation towards a person. But this words would be less for our today's chief guest, Chaitanya who spare time from his busy schedule to grace this occasion. Thank you, Prabhuji. We really feel privileged that we had Sri Suvarna Gaura Haridasji, Sri Prasadeshwar Krishnadasji, Sri Sankasan Priyadasji, and Sri Harish Kumarji here with us. My sincere thanks to all the devotees for gracing the occasion. Thank you. My heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Principal, Dr. Sudhir Patil, for his generous support for this occasion. Your encouragement has constantly bolstered all our endeavors. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to PUC Principal Professor Ravi Shankar sir for being here with us today. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank PUC Vice Principal Professor Vijayta ma'am and Professor Chaitanya ma'am for placing this occasion. Thank you, ma'am. My heartfelt thanks to our early coordinator, Nagaraj sir, for his immense support and motivation. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to the head of various departments, teaching and non-teaching staff of degree and PUC for their valuable contribution, guidance and encouragement in all our efforts. Last but not the least, I thank each one of you for your cooperation in making this event a resounding success. Thank you. There is a small announcement. Prasadam will be distributed outside. I request all PUC students to visit first,
National
then
anthem
follow
now.
by taking. Please remain seated there. Everyone stay here. There is national anthem now. Stay here.
जय गणमय अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब से